In this video, we will discuss programming pumps on the iGrow 1400 controller. You see, when a greenhouse has a mixed valve type heating system, it's often necessary for the controller to manage the system's pumps. Now with the iGrow 1400 controller, you can control up to 5 pumps, each one being activated when the mix valve tied to it opens beyond the minimum threshold of the mix valve. Now, to tie a pump to a specific mix valve, you must specify in the mix valve's settings which pump you want to control. And we will go into more detail in our next video, programming mix valves. But for now, let's go ahead and program an output to be a pump. Now from the home screen, we'll hit Enter Menu, and then we'll go to Program Equipment, and then hit Enter Menu to highlight the top left numeric corner. And as you can see, output number 1 and 2 are already programmed as a mix valve. Hit plus to get to the third output. Now in the third output, nothing is programmed on this output, and we'll simply hit next to get to the none, and then hit plus to expand the none, and plus till we get to pump, and then hit back, and then hit next a couple of times to highlight the 12 next to the pump. Now in the programming, you would first assign the pump a number, an address associated with this pump's output. Now it could be pump 1, pump 2, pump 3, all the way to pump 12, and you would increase and decrease the values by simply hitting plus and minus, but we're going to make this output be pump number 1. Now, if you're using mix valves on this controller, the programming would need this output's address if it's to use this output as its supply pump. Hit next to the minimum percent open. Now in this field it says supply min V's or mixed valves with minimum percent open. And we're going to make this value be, for testing purposes, 5%. Now this screen basically states if any mix valve associated with this pump opens past this threshold amount, 5%, the pump will turn on and remain on until the mix valves associated with this pump has closed beyond this threshold of 5%. And once it hits below that 5%, the pump will turn off. Now, let's go ahead and put this output to the test. Simply hit next till we get to the 03, and then minus to get to the 0102 mix valve output. And as you can see, this mix valve is associated with temperature probe 1, and it's also associated with pump 1. It's to use pump 1, the pump that we just programmed. And we're simply going to go ahead and hit back to get to the home screen, and then hit next, and then hit next again. And on this screen, this is our equipment screen, status screen, and mix valve 1 is at 0%, and it's at 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and pump is off. Now from the Lincoln view, you can see number 1 and 2 is a mix valve, and number 3 is a pump, also reflecting the same information on the equipment status screen of the iGrow 1400 controller. Now if you double click mix valve, and you have the water temp sensor is temp 1 that we're going to use, and we're also using supply pump 1. Now with the mix valve settings, it says minimum water temperature 80%, max water temperature 120. Now if the temperature falls below this 80%, this mix valve will in fact open, and if it opens beyond 5%, the pump that's supplying this mix valve will in fact turn on. So what we're going to do is just simply manipulate the temperature sensor associated with this mix valve output, and we're going to change the calibration to be minus 10 degrees. And hit update, update, and then we're going to take a look at our sensor and see what happens. And as you can see, the mix valve and the pump are in fact on, and with the temp probe being at 79.2, below the 80 degree threshold, the mix valve has opened at 33%. And the pump is active because it's open beyond the 5% threshold. Now to force the pump off, we'll simply go back into our configuration, and we'll go ahead and go into our analog temperature sensor calibration and just go ahead and simply change it. And by changing it, the mix valve is closing, and once it gets below the threshold of 5%, the pump will in fact turn off. And that's our video in programming a pump iGrow 1400 controller.